All right. So, yeah, so I always like to have kind of fun facts about every new system that we get to. And this is really our first system in this class is the skin, right? And then we'll um, move into the bone next, and then muscle and the nervous system this semester. But the skin's pretty amazing, right? We completely regenerate our skin about every 27 days, okay? Meaning that all those cells, especially in the epidermis, are new about every month, right? So we have like a whole new skin every month, which is kind of strange, right? We drop around 600,000 dead skin cells every hour of the day, right? So we're just dumping off tissue constantly. Um, most of a lot of the dust in our house is our skin cells, right? It's a lot of skin cells are just dropping all over the place. Um, but uh, but yeah, that means we're shedding about 1.5 pounds of tissue just in our skin per year. And yes, like it says there, someone who's lived to 70 has lost around 105 pounds of skin off their body in their lifetime. So a lot of and that really gets at one of the properties of epithelial tissue, right? What is that property of epithelial tissue that this gets at? Highly proliferative, right? So it regenerates constantly, right? All epithelial tissue does that. And so the epidermis, which is the part of the skin that is epithelial tissue, the top part is very, very highly proliferative, right? Just constantly making new cells, replenishing those ones that we lost. Okay, so we got kind of these kind of conceptual barriers of the skin, right? And there's three of them. So go ahead and talk about those ones that you studied for class today. What were those different barriers? And then you can answer this question on the next slide here. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
I don't need clicker. So remember, you'll pick no clickers. Yeah, remember, you'll pick someone on your team to hold their fingers up, right, with the answer.
Hey.
So what was in the quiz? Which one was the one that was most common in, sorry, what was most common in the dermis?
The fibroblasts. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, go ahead and hold your answers up. One person per team there, if you can. Or if you need another hand, you can have another hand too. What do we got? Yeah, so most people are saying the same, it looks like. A and D. Okay. Is that what everybody's saying? 1 and 5? A and E, 5 is E, not D. I did see 5. I just translated that improperly. Uh, so I have a tough time with my ABCs sometimes. You'll see that later too. Once we get to like F and G, I just lose track completely. It's true. Yeah. So anyway, A and E is what most of you are saying. So which below are not considered one of the protective barriers of the skin? So the temperature barrier and the moisture barrier. These are the kind of ones that are defined, right? The chemical barrier, physical barrier, biological barrier. The skin does help us maintain temperature, and it does help us keep moisture in our bodies and out of our bodies. But it's just not one of the ones that people call one of the barriers, but it has those functions. So, okay, let's go to the next one. All right, so with the biological barrier, discuss what this biological barrier is protecting against and how it accomplishes it. And then there's a question you can answer related to that. Okay, go ahead.
The like image, like the barrel, the coral.
So you didn't say we did.
What's that? The what?
Think there was like a,
Different confirmations of the.
there was like a barrel.
Oh, no, no.
So, yeah, I memorized.
No, no. Good job. You got it.
For the skeleton.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead and hold your answers up. What do we got here? Hold your answers up. All right. Okay. So most people are saying 3 and 4, which would be the Langerhans cells and the macrophages. What do those things have in common? They're alive, right? Yeah, they're cells. They're alive, right? So biological barrier includes things that are alive. They're living cells, right? And so that's kind of the key feature of the biological barrier. Okay, questions on that? Okay. All right. Which layer of the skin serves as a reservoir for blood? Go ahead, chat about that. Hold up your answer when you're ready.
That's what I'm.
I made what?
What?
Well, how did I do that? How did I do that?
You said something funny.
Oh, okay.
And you said something funny after the dog.
You were going like, you lose like 1.5 pounds a year. I go, it doesn't feel like it.
To grow it back, unfortunately. Oh, yeah,
So that's
yeah.
I don't know if my teacher.
That's good. My kids used to say my ABCDs. That's what they would call them, but yes.
Whatever.
All right, hold up your answer. What do we got here? Which part of the skin serves as a reservoir for blood? Yeah, so everybody's saying C, right? The dermis, okay? And most of that's in a bunch of little capillaries. So the dermis is highly vascularized. There was an image in your notes that showed just how many blood vessels are in the dermis, right? And so really one of the ways that we can increase our heart's ability to pump blood when we start exercising is we squeeze down all those capillaries in the skin, and that shunts all that blood back towards our core, so we can have more blood circulating in our core. So we kind of just keep a bunch of blood out there, and then we can send it back when we need it. But then we can also send a lot more out to the skin to cool ourselves down too, right? That's why our skin gets red when we get hot, because we're radiating out heat from all that blood that we sent to our skin too. Okay, questions on that? Okay. All right. What about different cell types? So discuss with your team the different cell types you find in each layer of the skin and their functions. And then you can also answer this question here.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Cells, are they only in the epidermis or also in the dermis?
Yeah, epidermis. Yeah, only. Yeah.
Like, yeah.
All right. Go ahead and hold up your answers here. Which types do we find in the dermis? Okay. So we got C and D. Everybody's saying C and D. So fibroblasts and macrophages. Let's talk about each one of these and kind of what they do for us. So what do melanocytes do? Yeah, make melanin. It was a pigment that they put that into the keratinocytes, right? And that protects the nuclei of those cells from the sun. Okay. Keratinocytes, this is just our main physical barrier, right? All those cells on the top. What do fibroblasts do? Produce proteins. Yeah, we'll see that blast suffix later too. When we talk about bone cells, we'll talk about osteoblasts. And those are cells that are sending proteins out, sending things out. They're kind of blasting things out, right? And then macrophages, obviously part of our immune system. They help to engulf invaders that aren't there, that shouldn't be there. And then which part of our body are Merkel cells a part of? Say it again. Okay, epidermis, but what do they do for us? What's their function? Yeah, Taylor? Yeah, sensation, right? They're part of our nervous system, right? They're sensory receptors for touch, right? Yeah. Okay. All right. So those are the different cell types, but only these ones are in the dermis. Okay. Questions on those? Okay. All right. Layers of the skin. Go ahead. Chat about this. Answer when you're ready. All right, hold up your answer when you're ready here. What do we got? Everybody hold up their answer. Okay. Most teams are saying 3, a couple are saying B. So anytime we have epithelial tissue, we always have a layer on the very bottom that's the most active, it's dividing the most. And that's the basal layer, right? So the basal layer of the epidermis would be the one that's always making new cells. That's kind of where the stem cells of the skin of the epidermis are. Okay. And those are the ones that are closest to the blood too, right? Because they're the closest to oxygen and nutrients, so they can be doing a lot of metabolism, doing a lot of things that require nutrients to survive. So. Okay. All right. Blisters. Blisters are fun. Go ahead. Chat about this one. Decide what you think. All right, go ahead and hold up your answers there. What do you got? Hold them up. Everybody hold up your answer. Take a guess. What'd you guys decide as a team? Okay. Does say choose all that apply. Okay. So most people are saying E. That one seems to be a consistent one. Okay. So let's go from the top. Separation of layers of the epidermis causes blood blisters. Nope, because there's no blood in the epidermis, right? So that wouldn't be right. Separation of the dermis and the epidermis causes water blisters. We'll put a question mark by that one for just a sec. Separation of the layers of the epidermis could cause either water blisters or blood blisters. No, there's no blood in the epidermis. Separation of the layers of the dermis causes blood blisters. Yeah, for sure, right? If we're messing with the dermis and kind of tearing apart parts of the dermis, it's going to bleed because there's capillaries in there. Okay. Separation of the layers of the epidermis causes water blisters. Yes, for sure. So that epidermis is that stratified squamous epithelial tissue, right? And so remember, there is a little bit of space between all those cells that are packed in so tightly, and there's a little bit of fluid in there. But if all of a sudden we take 2 of those layers and just like shift them like this, right, then little space opens up between those cells, and that's just going to fill with the fluid that's around the cells, right? Because there's going to be room for it to move there, right? So it's just like the interstitial fluid moving into that area where there's now like a hole, right? There's like a little vacuum there because we just like kind of forcibly like tore the layers apart a little bit, right? So there's a little bit of space in there. This one is kind of so separation of the dermis and the epidermis. Yeah, it could probably go either way, right? If we damage if we like rubbed part of the dermis off and it like bled up into like above itself up into the epidermis, it could probably cause a blood blister. It could probably also be a water blister. It could kind of go either way. But the key is separation of the dermis within itself will be blood. Separation of the epidermis within itself would be just a clear blister like that. Okay. If you need to pop a blister, how do you do it? You guys ever do this method where you like take a needle and kind of go in over this way? And then it kind of like squirts out over here? You ever do that? That's kind of one of the ways to do it to make it a little bit less risk of infection. Like clean it up right here. Take your needle, go in the skin this way, and then like pop it in, and then squirts out that way. Yeah. Way to do it. But don't pop them if you don't have to, because then it just opens you up for infection and everything else. But sometimes you have to because they're just in the way. Yeah. Okay. Hold on a sec. Toby's got a great question that all you guys want to hear. I know you want to hear it. Go ahead, Toby.
Can you explain why it's not?
Why it's not what?
Why it's not?
C? Yeah. C, so a separation of the layers of the epidermis could cause either one. There's no blood in the epidermis, so it couldn't cause a blood blister. Yeah. Yeah. Good question. Other questions? B could go either way. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it could be water or blood blister. Yeah. So, good question. Yeah. Sydney? What is the what? The difference? It's just what's in that blister. Yeah, blood or water blister. Yeah. All right, guys. I'd love to have everybody's attention when I've got questions from other people. Be great. So Sydney had a great question. What is the difference? What actually is in the water? Is that kind of what you're asking? Like, what is water? Yeah. Yeah. The water is the interstitial fluid, right? So remember, in all of our tissues, we've got cells, and then the space around the cells has some fluid in it. So it's like water, it's some electrolytes, those kind of things. And when we just open up extra space in that interstitial space, a lot of the water is going to go there because it's like a little vacuum in that space. So it's just going to fill in. So it's really just interstitial fluid is what the water is in water blisters. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Other questions? Okay, all right. So this one here, go ahead and answer each of these questions just with the people on your team, and just match them up. Yeah, so you're just matching up those letters with the questions there. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I think A, the. So it just goes off.
A is.
No. C.
All right, nothing to hold up here. I'm not having you hold those up, but let's talk about it because this can be kind of confusing. When we look at the skin like this, we can see a bunch of different types of tissue, right? What tissue type do we have in C? What's that called? It's not called keratinocytes, but the question is asking you which one is primarily made up of keratinocytes. That would be C, right? That's the answer there. But what type of tissue is that? Epithelial. What type of epithelial? Stratified squamous, right? Yeah, this is that a bunch of layers of flat cells, right? Stratified squamous epithelial tissue. That's the epidermis, right? That's what that is. Okay. the next one down, we can see is B there. That's the papillary layer of the dermis, right? And what type of connective tissue is it? Areolar connective tissue, right? Yeah. And then the next one's kind of tricky because it's what's number 1 called? Or well, what's A called? What do we call that layer of the dermis? Say it again. Yeah, reticular layer, right? But it's not reticular connective tissue, right? That's why it's confusing, right? That was one of the connective tissues that you learned on Friday, right? Was reticular connective tissue. This is called the reticular layer of the dermis, but it's not reticular connective tissue. What type of connective tissue is it? Dense irregular. Yeah. Anatomists just want to make it as confusing as possible, I think. So, but I wanted to point that out. So it's dense irregular connective tissue, right? But it is called the reticular layer of, yeah, I'll write it there. Reticular layer of the dermis. Okay. All right. Questions on that at all? Yeah, Sid? Yeah. So the yeah, so pretty much it's fibers that are all in different shapes. So in the it's from the class on Friday. If you've watched that video, the parallel or dense regular connective tissue, all the collagen fibers are going in one direction. So that's like tendons and things like that, ligaments. But then dense irregular is we have collagen fibers going all different directions. So it's really good at stretching all different directions and then getting its shape back. So that's right underneath the top layer of our skin has that, and that is helpful for stretch in all different directions. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Other questions? Yeah, you go.
They call it reticular layer, maybe because it looks like a bat.
Because what?
Looks like a bat.
I didn't hear your last word you said.
Looks like a net.
A net. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's kind of like a spider web, like net type shape, and that's what that reticular means. Yeah, exactly. And reticular connective tissue also looks like that too, for sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we've just got a couple kind of quick review questions and that I want you guys to do with your team. So go ahead and just go through all these slides. Just go through all of them and get your answers down as a team, and then we'll just run through all the answers together in a couple minutes.
Yeah.
The prior, I understand this. I think this is all. This one, I see. What are the little lines called?
Yeah.
I guess like which section of
Yeah, this part here.
if we have this one in it.
I would always mark it if it was on, if it was a test question. Yeah. Yeah. All right, let's come back together here and wrap this up because we just got a minute to go. All right, so this first one here, this is a version of stratified squamous epithelial tissue, right? This is not the skin, but this would be a little bit another one of the moist versions of stratified squamous epithelial tissue. Lots of layers, flat cells stacked all on top of each other, right? This one would be simple columnar, right? We have kind of uniformity in where the nuclei are, column-shaped cells. We have some goblet cells, right? That's what those ones are. They're sending that mucus out, okay? So that's that one. This one would be our simple cuboidal again, right? This would be one of those little kidney tubule, one of the tubes in the kidneys. So simple cuboidal, okay? Which of these would be stratified, A or B? B, yeah, for sure. That is the skin there, right? So we see, and I would have these marked a little bit better if it was a test question. I would say, you know, like this part is the part you're supposed to focus on because you have different tissues there, like were just talking about. Okay. And then lastly, which of those was stratified? Which one do you think? A or B? B again, for sure. Yep. Good. Yeah, that's it, guys. And that part was just a review from the previous week, right? So, all right. We'll see you guys on Wednesday.